to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, good evening. You can be seated now. Thank you all so much for joining us here tonight. This might just be the most distinguished group we have ever hosted at the museum. Before we begin tonight's program, I want to first introduce myself. I am Lindsay Lauren Visser, and it is my distinct privilege and honor to be the Executive Director of the Niagara Aerospace Museum. And as I have now cleared my 1 year with the museum, I think I can no longer refer to myself as the new Executive Director. I also want to take a moment to recognize a few of the individuals we have here tonight. First, I would like to recognize longtime board member and former president of CalSpan, Lieutenant Colonel Lou Knotts, and his lovely wife, Joanne. Lou is the chief architect of our museum's future. You'll hear from him in a little bit, but his support, vision, and determination to see the project through are the reasons why the museum is continuing to move forward in the way that it is. We're so happy that Lou and Joanne could be here tonight as we update you on our vision and our progress. We are also joined tonight by longtime museum supporter and the son of a former Bell Aerospace president, William Giesel Jr., and former Moog CEO and old friend of the museum, Bob Brady. In the past year, the museum has taken a more active role in our regional community, and we are honored to be joined by Erie County Executive Mark Polenkars and Niagara Falls City Council member Brian Archie. Also our celebrity bartender and undefeated champion of the Lunar Landing Interactive in the back room. So if you want to throw down, see him afterwards. We also want to recognize our other elected officials who, while they could not be here tonight, we are joined by members of their staff. And that includes Congressman Tim Kennedy, Chair of the Niagara County Legislature, Rebecca Whittish, and New York State Assemblyman Angelo Morinello. So we are appreciative of their ongoing support. If my math is correct, we also have 3 former Niagara Aerospace Museum executive directors in the room tonight, as well as several Niagara Frontier Aviation and Space Hall of Fame inductees. So if one of those things applies to you, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and stand up right now so we can recognize you. Includes you. Wonderful, wonderful. I also would like to recognize the Niagara Aerospace Museum board members who are here tonight, and at this time, I'm going to ask them to stand or give a little wave, because I think they're probably already all standing. So thank you all for everything that you do for the museum every day, every day. Our president, Don Irwin, wishes he could be here tonight, but unfortunately he is unable to, and so instead he asked me to share this message. Thank you for being here. I'm sad that I'll be missing all of you, but I'm happy that we are all here together enjoying a nice evening. Thank you for helping to keep Western New York's rich aviation and aerospace history alive. We couldn't do it without you. On a personal note, I'd also like to thank the Vecchio and Associates team for all their hard work in planning and organizing tonight's event. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my family and my partner who are here tonight. My mother is volunteering. She has been the cook that you have been enjoying all of the food. And my father, though he isn't here, I continue to trade on his aviation capital and ride on his coattails as a former airplane pilot. So I'm very appreciative for both of them and for, of course, my mother's hard work tonight. Lastly, I want to thank each and every one of you who are here tonight. You're here because you play a very important part of our museum community. And because of your support, the museum is able to continue sharing the story of Western New York's contribution to aviation and aerospace, and most importantly, inspire the next generation of pilots and engineers. That is why we wanted to give you an update on the museum's future plans. Over the course of the last few months, we've spoken to many of you about what the future of the museum should look like. We listened to your perspectives and appreciated your insights. The overwhelming majority of you are all in agreement that the future of the museum hinges on our ability to provide an immersive and memorable experience to the greatest number of visitors possible. That is a vision that our current facility simply cannot accommodate. When we spoke to you last, our sights were set on the old Rainbow Mall facility. After discussing the opportunity with many of you and conducting a feasibility study, we all felt strongly that a location in downtown Niagara Falls was the best option for the museum, and the potential of the Rainbow Mall was especially compelling. We pursued that opportunity with everything we had. We put together a very comprehensive response to their RFP. 150 pages long, comprehensive. We really did our due diligence on it. But unfortunately, the City of Niagara Falls opted to not move forward with the Rainbow Mall project at all. At this time, they are not prepared to make a commitment for that space with anyone, and are instead planning to reissue an RFP at a later date. We feel that it is essential to identify a new location for the museum as quickly as possible, and we do not feel that it is in the museum's best interest to wait for another round of RFPs for the Rainbow Mall. So instead, we have worked to identify a new location. In the process of compiling our original submission, we conducted an enormous amount of research and modified our strategic plan significantly. John Vecchio from Vecchio & Associates and Jeff Hughes from Market View Growth Strategies will both be able to provide you more specifics about that shortly. However, our efforts resulted in a new opportunity that works directly with New York State to bring the museum to downtown Niagara Falls. With the assistance of Empire State Development, we have identified a new location that we believe would be perfect to be the permanent home for the Niagara Aerospace Museum. The parcel is situated between the Aquarium of Niagara and the New York State Park. This location is central, easily accessible, and in close proximity to an organization that is quickly becoming one of our closest nonprofit friends, and that is the Museum of the Aquarium of Niagara, who I believe is celebrating their 60th anniversary today, right? Yes. We have a long and distinguished cultural history in Niagara Falls, and it would be wonderful to be able to partner with the aquarium in a location that would make both of our organizations more accessible to the public. The parcel is situated directly between the Aquarium of Niagara and the New York State Park. This new location is central, easily accessible, and ideal for tourists who are visiting Niagara Falls. This new location will still require us to complete the competitive bidding process, but all indications are extremely positive, and our project has the support of our local elected officials. The RFP will be released this summer, and we anticipate having an answer by this fall. In the meantime, although we feel positive about this opportunity, we are continuing to explore alternatives to ensure the museum can move forward. As I mentioned earlier, John and Jeff will be able to provide some more insights into what came out of our feasibility study and the importance of this move for the museum. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to John Vecchio of Vecchio & Associates.
Thank you, Lindsay. All right, we'll get the right speech here. Lindsay, Lauren, thank you for that kind introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be here with you this evening. My name is John Vecchio, and I'm looking out, I see an amazing crowd of new and old friends. What a testament to the enduring legacy of this institution. Before we share our findings, let me just take a moment to introduce you to Vecchio & Associates. As campaign counsel, we have worked with some amazing nonprofits like the Naval and Military Park, hello, Colonel Pecoraro, the Ronald McDonald House, Niagara University, the adaptive reuse of the North Park Library into the Italian Cultural Center on Kirtland, Delaware, Narden Academy, BCMC Foundation, and we work with Russ Elwator to establish the suburban campus of Trocaire College, just to name a few of our clients. Our firm's roots are local and deep, and we're proud of it. Last fall, the Niagara Aerospace leadership engaged our firm with conducting a stakeholder study in order to gauge community support and suggestions for the future relocation, expansion, and sustainability of the museum. We conducted 50 confidential surveys, which included a cross-section of board members, past directors, donors, government and business leaders, educators, potential donors, as well as volunteers and friends of the museum. In fact, most of them are here with us this evening. Our objectives were to gauge the museum's reputation and impact in the community, create and refine a preliminary case for support, determine interest in a potential Rainbow Mall expansion, which obviously you have just heard the update, identify potential locations for sustaining the mission, evaluate campaign potential, and assess institutional readiness. All interviews were conducted with pre-established list of questions, and most were done face-to-face. So here's what we found out. Our stakeholders see great value in the museum's collection and its potential for STEM or STEAM education, depending on how you use that term. There is a high level of interest in more interactive exhibits. The museum, despite its less than ideal environment, notice we don't have air conditioning tonight, is delivering a positive visitor experience, 4.7 to 4.9 out of 5 on Google's online reviews. There is a, unfortunately, low opinion of the current location in this respect. It's not big enough, it's unappealing, and it lacks the newer museum amenities that many of you are familiar with. The proximity to the airport is seen as the only real positive, along with, of course, the amazing collection. Moving to a new location has widespread support, and there was high interest in downtown Niagara Falls sites, and also mentioned were sites in Erie County and downtown Buffalo. Those were in the minority, but they were mentioned and so noted. We had a preliminary $20 million budget, which was viewed as challenging, but possible. Respondents recognized the urgent need for additional staffing and resources for creating fundamental fundraising infrastructure, including an updated database and a strategic marketing plan. We couldn't agree more. The main sentiment expressed was that whatever location is finally chosen, that it sustains the mission as a world-class destination. Absolutely. Here's a sample of what you all told us. A donor said, we need to obtain significant community and governmental funding. It won't be easy, but it can be done. A business leader said, it's larger than Western New York. It has to be a national campaign. A board member remarked, we need to develop all of the museum's components. We really need dedicated staff for fundraising and marketing. An educational leader said, we need leadership to take us to the next level. Lindsay Lauren Visser represents that kind of transitional leadership. Government leaders said, I think it's extremely important that this project stay in Niagara Falls. It would be a top draw for the community. Another business leader said, I'm very nostalgic of the museum. I really want to see it survive. I'm not totally convinced Niagara Falls is the best place. However, I'm not against it. I'm just concerned. A donor remarked, we're a best kept secret. Why? A board member remarked, the museum is a gem and a lousy wrapper. And a Hall of Fame member remarked, it's the only museum that's dedicated to aviation and space accomplishments that happen right here in our own backyard. Please don't let this treasure fly away. And lastly, a donor said, go big or go home. We asked tough questions, and our stakeholders called balls and strikes. The most important thing is that we listened. The board listened, and the executive director listened. So now the fun part begins. Here's what's happening. The board requested, and we're wrapping up a diagnostic development audit to assess the museum's basic fundraising infrastructure necessary to expand and sustain the operation. We're in the process of creating a marketing plan to address the issues noted in our study. We conducted peer group analysis and conversations with other museum leaders, like Chad Pfeiffer from the aquarium, and in order to provide additional perspectives. They're doing something right. We wanted to find out what. We expanded board recruitment, resulting in adding Superintendent Mark Laurie and the Honorable Frank Caruso to the board, and there's more to follow. We engaged a local developer and architect to guide us with our ideal facility design. We've commissioned Hadley Exhibits to develop a detailed exhibition plan, and we have members of Hadley here with us tonight for an expanded museum featuring both the existing collection and many new interactive exhibits. We're in the process of developing a pro forma business plan. We're in discussions with Niagara University and UB School of Engineering to train young docents and strengthen STEM education. We performed a preliminary economic impact analysis, Jeff will talk about that in a moment, to confirm the potential for the expanded museum to make an ongoing, significant contribution to the local economy. You know, finalizing a location is key to everything, right? And the board and Lindsay Lauren are on that quest. And just before I turn this over to Jeff, I wanted to say that I've heard so much about, we want to find out what's going on. How about a newsletter? Well, ladies and gentlemen, beginning in July, we will be producing a monthly newsletter spotlighting the museum, donors, exhibits, and any news that we find pertinent. And so I'm going to, fine. I'm now going to ask Jeff Hughes, president of Market View LLC. He's a marketing partner. We worked at M&T Bank back when we both had hair that had color. And he's just great. So he's going to bring you up to date on some statistical stuff that I think you're going to want to hear. Jeff?